It is Monday, April 7th, and this is your daily weather update. If you're brand new to the channel, I do this every day. Today, we're going to dig into kind of the April surprises that I think are on the way. Maybe even some severe weather. I don't know. I think it's too far out to look at that, but we will take a look at what might be driving that. Today, a lot of folks talking about how cold it is. I mean, generally, pretty much anywhere east of the Rockies, save the southeastern U.S., it's cold, and it's going to stay chilly, too. I mean, it's April. How cold could it possibly be? But you might want to break out the hoodies or maybe even the coat, depending on where you are. If you're into the Great Lakes, into the Northeast, there's going to be some snow on the way this week. We're going to look at that. And temperatures could range anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees below average over the next couple of days. So really chilly temperatures setting up with this type of weather pattern. We do start to see more reinforcing cold, too. Here's what's interesting. We do warm up across the Central Plains, but check this out. Kind of some northwest flow setting up here. You're going to get these upper level lows that I think are going to dig in over the next week or so, and that's just going to keep things cloudy, cool, damp, and a little snowy in some areas. Today, the problem across the southeast, here from southeast Virginia all the way down into parts of Florida, severe weather. There could be some strong thunderstorms, damaging winds possible from North Carolina, South Carolina. That tornado risk goes up across parts of South Carolina, down into Georgia and Florida, heading into the afternoon and the evening. And that front's going to push all the way into South Florida tomorrow. So that severe risk going all the way to the end of the peninsula there. All right. As we head through today, quite a bit of rain here from Georgia all the way into Virginia, up into the Northeast. On the northern side of that, maybe a little bit of snow. And here comes the cold air dropping in across the Great Lakes with some snow showers moving through southern Ontario. And this is going to push into parts of New York and Pennsylvania into the Northeast. Now, not a lot of snow further south into Pennsylvania, but there could be some decent accumulations here into northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, up into parts of Maine as this low wraps up right here off the East Coast with this clipper-like system. Cold air building in from the Mid-South all the way through the Great Lakes. And we're relatively warm, though. In fact, it's going to warm up a little bit more across the Central Plains. So from Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, someone said I don't say every state. I need to pay more attention to Arkansas or North Carolina or Missouri. Here, I know my states. It's early. The point is I can't say every state. So look at the map. You can see where you are, and we'll kind of talk about where the highlights of the weather are this week. Some rain showers. This is interesting. I think we watched this piece of energy that swings through here on Wednesday. I'm looking at this little surprise here that might pop up. The GFS is a little more aggressive at putting some snow here into Michigan and maybe north of this line. The European, it's sort of muting things a little bit. But the idea that we're talking about snow gives you an idea of how cold it is. And then a front's going to move through and temperatures drop here from the mid-Atlantic. Across the west, more moisture here into the Pacific Northwest will feed in. So we're going to see quite a bit of rain and snow, especially into the Cascades, the Olympics. We're going to get some areas, maybe feet of snow once the week is done, with just an onslaught of moisture moving in here. And then now we're pretty far out. So we're looking at 1 week from today. I don't put a lot of stock into it. We were talking about severe weather. If you're just joining the live stream, if you ever catch it, you can always back it up and pick it up from the beginning. But we were talking about the risk of severe weather toward the end of the month and the hype of it. One thing I don't do, I don't give a rip about hyping things. It's not my style. I'll just tell you how it is. If I see something, we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to tell you, we're looking at something in a weather pattern that might set up toward, the end of the month. The GFS, who knows if we'll even have a storm here by Thursday, April 17th. Right? But I do think the pattern changes. I don't think we're going to keep this trough in the east. And once you get rid of that trough, you start to open the door for storms to move this direction. And, of course, your severe risk goes up. So I'm taking a wait and let's see attitude, but yes, the pattern will change up. Timing any specific severe weather out at this point in time it's useless. There's no reason to do that. Let's, though, look at the rain we're dealing with today. We're going to start in the southeast. We'll work our way across the entire country today. Severe storms possible again across Georgia. I think you got to watch these storms through the morning hours from Macon all the way down to Albany and then northeast into parts of South Carolina. These could really get re-energized into the afternoon here from the panhandle of Florida, north into central South Carolina, maybe into low country once we get into the afternoon and evening hours, and then from the Piedmont into eastern North Carolina through the late afternoon and early evening hours. Strong damaging winds, some tornadoes certainly can't be ruled out here. And then behind this, much colder. Here comes our second blast of cold air. You can see our front a little bit dry on the southern end of this and the southwest side. So maybe just a few showers, change of wind direction here, maybe some gusty winds, but the severe risk clearly to the east. And then look at this, into the mountain state, maybe some snow showers falling late tonight into early tomorrow morning. And that could extend as far south as maybe the mountains of North Carolina, with just a few flakes flying here from southwest Virginia down into East Tennessee and North Carolina. But I'm not talking about Bristol, Johnson City, Kingsport, up into the mountains here, right along that Tennessee-North Carolina line. There could be a coating of snow at best. Either way, it's going to be very, very chilly. Temperatures today on the way down. It's hot, though. It'll be hot this afternoon. That's going to fuel those storms. And here comes the cold as we head into Tuesday morning. So waking up to a little bit of a different story here across this region. Temperatures well into the 20s, below freezing. Freezing temperatures this morning in many of these areas, and another cold morning tomorrow. And look at your highs. We've carved out some chilly air, and we've pushed the cold all the way down into the south. It's spring, right? So you're not going to be, cold in southern Georgia, but you go from the 80s to the 60s, so a big difference in temperatures here. Further to the north, let's talk about the snow moving through Michigan today. We're going to see some of that through the morning hours as our front drops south. Once it moves by, winds will start to change direction. There could be a little bit of accumulation, and we could even start to see some lake effect trying to pick up. The lakes are now unfrozen, so maybe some snow showers downwind of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario as our winds pick up, maybe even off of Superior, so into the UP of Michigan. A few lake effect snow showers into parts of the lower peninsula, and then all of this moves off to the east. And look at the snow showers and the lake effect setting up. And then we get into this interesting thing that's happening now on Wednesday. This would be the end of the NAM capabilities here, but you get the idea that it's picking up on something trying to move through here. Temperatures across this area, cold. I mean, look at this, below zero up in the parts of Ontario. Of course, as this air moves across the Great Lakes, it is warming up some. So we're talking about teens and 20s for lows on Tuesday, opposed to single digits to near zero. But up here into the Arrowhead of Minnesota, we could get well into the single digits, close to zero in many areas, and high temperatures heading into Tuesday. Gosh, I had to stop. I was like, is that the highs or is that still the lows? We're still in the 20s and teens here across northern parts of the Northeast. Further here into the Northeast, let's look at the snow moving through parts of Maine through today. That will continue here into Vermont, New Hampshire, Western Mass, a little bit of accumulation possible. And then we watch for the real cold air to build in as we head now into Monday night. That's tonight into Tuesday. That pushes off to the east. Look at the swirl here. So quite a bit of vorticity, some lift in the atmosphere. That'll squeeze some snow out with colder temperatures on the way into Maine too. I mean, we're going to get really chilly here with numbers probably dropping well below freezing into the teens and not getting out of the 20s as we head into Wednesday. Further to the south and west, let's move into the Central Plains where it is much quieter here. We could use this from Missouri back to Kansas, Arkansas, Tennessee, West Tennessee specifically, and Illinois where we've just seen so much rain. Most of the cold is to your east, and look how quiet it is all the way through Tuesday into Wednesday. Now, there could be a few showers that try to rake through parts of Kansas into Missouri, and then that will move into Illinois as we head now into Wednesday. Temperatures kicked back still into the 60s today. We could be in the upper 70s and 80s, but not quite as warm. We'll get there. Heading into Tuesday, we're back into the 70s, even upper 70s possible across West Kansas and into Nebraska and eastern Colorado and into New Mexico on the way up as a ridge of high pressure builds in here. Across the northern plains, not a lot of action here. Maybe some showers on Wednesday and Thursday, but otherwise relatively quiet with this broad northwest flow. A big temperature difference here depending on where you are. Single digits, lows tonight in the single digits anyway, to the 40s here across Nebraska and western South Dakota. You can see how that warm air is trying to work north and east, and it'll continue to do that over the next couple of days. It's not going to make it very far to the east, though. The Great Lakes region staying kind of chilly. Across the southwest, temperatures on the way up here, and we're dry as a decent upper-level ridge kind of takes hold here. It pushes your moisture track pretty far into the northwest. That's why we're going to see so much precipitation over the next couple of days here, with numbers today topping out likely in the 80s in the deserts. It's going to get hotter through the week. In fact, we're going to probably push triple-digit heat into the deserts by the time we get into maybe Wednesday. Tomorrow, it's going to be into the 90s, 70s, into the Central Valley. Even Northern California is starting to warm up into Utah and northern Arizona. Getting warm too, up towards Flagstaff, warmer than we've seen lately anyway. There comes the precipitation here into the Pacific Northwest. It continues to just pound this region. Maybe a bit of a break heading into Wednesday, but our next storm already lining up, and it's just going to put the moisture right back into Oregon and Washington with more rain and snow here, also into British Columbia. Some of that tries to sneak into Northern California as we head into Saturday, but the trend is to keep things pretty far to the north here. Temperatures this week not moving a whole lot, maybe a bit of a warm up heading into tomorrow and Wednesday, and then temperatures crash back down later this week and into next weekend. Once the weather pattern changes, I think it starts to turn a little bit cooler out west. All right, that's your update for today. Hope to see you next time. Hope you'll subscribe and come back. Have a great Monday.